collaboration is a new thing, and I kind of look to culture. Let's look at Taylor Swift. Let's look at Beyonce. Look at how they create music. It's not just them kind of owning that and them alone. They kind of work out who could they partner with, who could they work with to kind of bring a new, fresh take or idea on something.
Welcome back, everyone, to one of the most special episodes of the Growth Distillery here at the AANA Reset, where I have the distinct pleasure to be talking to Nick Taylor of Lego ilk. So Nick is the Senior Vice President and the head of Lego Agency. She has held a raft of chief roles in DDB in Spain, DDB in Australia, McCann worldwide. But I am a deep fan of Lego. My household is a fan of Lego. But we're not here to talk about Lego. That's the A side. We are here to talk a bit more about you and your philosophies and growth that might be hiding in plain sight. So where I'd love to start, if we can, Nick.
Sure.
Firstly, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm happy to be here.
I'd love to get your take on, in today's ecology of brand and business, what do you believe the essential ingredients for growth are? And has that changed in the last 10 years for you?
I mean, I'm gonna answer with the cliche around creativity. That's what this whole kind of conference is about. So I think that's fundamental to, I think, growth. I think you got to think laterally. I think you got to solve problems in interesting ways. I think the new things. So I think that's a philosophy I subscribe to. Always have. I think good clients or good brands
Perennial
do that. I think the parts that are new are the kind of collaboration model. Mm-hmm. I think that's new. The kind of culture of that is hard to get right, because you want the different points of view, you want the diversity in the characters, but then you're like, how do you orchestrate that and kind of bring that together to create something special and not just create chaos or worse still, compromise?
Yep.
So I think collaboration is a new thing, and I kind of look to culture. Let's look at Taylor Swift. Let's look at Beyonce. Look at how they create music. It's not just them kind of owning that and them alone. They kind of work out who could they partner with, who could they work with to kind of bring a new, fresh take or idea on something. And the process in which you do that, like I get quite fascinated by it. Like I said, I think getting the process right and getting the outcome right isn't straightforward. But it was a recent kind of experience where someone was talking to a really famous kind of film director. I wish I could think of his name. But anyway, he works with a lot of really A-list celebrities. He creates magnificent kind of, productions, very interesting new universes and worlds. Yeah. And they said to him, how does that work for you? You've got these big personalities and big characters kind of collaborating in new and different ways. And he goes, you got to learn to have the tough conversations. Like, you got to kind of show up and get people to kind of accept, honesty and truth. Like, it's not kind of this process of just stroking, those important people on the, who we're collaborating with. Yeah. It's like really getting to the heart of, how do we make this work? You're being a bit, out of lockstep. Can you kind of come in more and collaborate in a different way? So it's an easy word. It's an easy thing to kind of say you want to do, but doing it well.
It's a wicked problem, yeah. And walking that tightrope. I'd love to get your take, because you're right, how do you walk that tightrope of keeping everybody in the tent, but as you said, not sacrificing quality at the expense of compromise?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's hard. And I think when you get it right, you create something so original. Like, it's not just two different people coming together and creating what you'd expect. It should show up in a really original, unexpected way. And that is definitely something that I think is of the new world. And then, of course, you've got the whole creator economy, which is all very related, but a step on. So I'm always kind of curious to go, who should we activate as a voice for our brand? Like, what does that look like? How do we empower them?
With that model, where you've gone big licensing, and I think that has been an absolute masterstroke for Lego. But when you move to, when UGC becomes not amateur anymore, what are the voices that
there's real quality in that UGC, right? These are proper creative people who've learnt to become creative because the tools are available to them. So I think all those things present amazing opportunities, but I don't know how how people, genuinely kind of make that work for them and get, like I said, the benefits of those spaces.
Other side of the coin, I'd love to get your perspective. What's something we're all focused, even fixating on, that's doing us a disservice? What's the reset hiding in plain sight?
I touched on it, and I think how I described this deserves a bit of nuance. I think there's all these new and exciting places and spaces like gaming, and I think we can rush into them and not really think about our long-term commitment / what it takes to get the real value from those choices. And I think, for me, there's a bit of caution around, are you set up to do that well? Are you kind of just, throwing money into a pot and just essentially getting like a paid media experience? So I think, for me, I think there's things in plain sight. We kind of run toward the new. But, my view is, think deeply about what value and role you want to play in that new and make sure you're set up to do that well. So many times I see good ideas executed badly, or there's just not enough resource or people to do it well.
Chasing too many shiny objects.
Yeah. So not overly profound, but I think as the world gets more fragmented, as the world of, digital media, it gets more and more important, I think you got to really think through how you're going to activate that in a sustainable way that adds genuine value to your business or brand.
I think there's profoundness in the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
And you're right,
Okay,
it's easy to get wrong. Like it's a wickedly difficult problem to get right.
Yeah.
What do you see as the most common tripwires, right? And you've touched on growing yourself to death, so to speak.
Yeah.
But as businesses implement these growth strategies, where are the tripwires that we just keep running into?
I think a lack of focus is one, which we just touched on, the simplicity of making real choices that you're ready for, that you've thought about. Is it the right sequence? Am I ready to do this? What if I delay it by 12 months? I think they're really good questions to ask yourself.
Patience.
Patience. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive when you work in marketing and creative ideas. I'm always impatient around making things happen, but I'm learning that at this stage in my career. And genuine choices. I just always feel like you got to articulate what it is you're not doing to have a real strategy.
I love that.
So I kind of look for that. What am I not doing? Because that means I'm genuinely focusing and making the choices to get good at something, right?
And it's funny because we never talk about the stuff that we don't do. We never celebrate the things that we're not doing in service of doing the things that we are exceptionally well.
Yeah, I think articulating that can help.
What's your approach to failure? I'd love to get under the hood of that.
Oh, man.
How does that underpin growth for you?
I think it's a necessary thing. It's still uncomfortable. I'm smiling because I'm like, I know all the books. I've read all the books, right? Failure is a thing. If you want to be brilliant, you've got to walk through that. You've got to experience that. And I've had many, but I still hate it, right?
Yeah, the books only get you so far.
It still hurts when it happens. But I think it's definitely a sign. Are you trying hard enough? I think you're always so close to the edge when you're doing something brilliant. It could tip either way. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're running a fine line. So I think failure is, everyone says it. I subscribe to it. I'm not there yet. You get comfortable with it, accept that it's part of the journey. I'm kind of flipping it more into learning. I love this idea of learning, especially as you get, even further in your career and you feel like you've mastered so many elements. Nothing better for me than when I learn something new. I love that feeling.
Yeah. And I can imagine the table stakes get higher as well because you've got this coupling of this feeling of mastery, but at the same point, the risk of loss and loss aversion starts to really sink in, right?
Totally. And you exactly, the stakes are high, you're accountable for more stuff. If it goes wrong, it has proper impact. You're going to be publicly probably, called out, but I don't know. I think we just got to learn to live with it. And I think the more we teach our kids, again, role models, kids, the more we teach them that trying and failing is okay. And that was that thing that I showed about young girls, the perfection mindset. Yeah. It doesn't help, right? It means they kind of opt out of taking more chances and more risks. So I think we've got to start early on that one.
I couldn't agree more. And often the number of times that my daughter will go and she's building something and she's put a brick wrong and then that's it. And like, no, it's okay.
No, it's brilliant. Like you've got to change the language and really support those things. So I think it starts early.
In building that muscle memory, one of the core components of that is you having to really pitch to challenge convention and conventional wisdom in, either the board or your peers or your stakeholders. For those that are listening into you and going, you know what, I'm buying what you're saying. Nick. How do I go about challenging conventional wisdom in a way that doesn't blow up like a grenade in my hand?
Yeah.
What would be the advice that you give them?
I mean, there's starting with just expressing, the idea. I think saying things out loud is a good place to start, because there's so many times I've seen people kind of not say it clearly, right, and kind of act like it's not that important to them. So I go, say it, put it out there, see what happens. Be prepared for sometimes the negative or the no, though, right? That's what it comes with. It's a yes or a no, and a maybe sometimes. And then find the evidence. It doesn't have to be evidence that makes it complete, and that, because there's no such thing in advance of an idea to go, it's proven. But you got to have something. You got to have some kind of evidence or some kind of insight to really back yourself against. Yeah. Otherwise, you may not have thought about it from enough angles, and then get other people to input. I'm learning this especially now, because I'd backed myself previously. I'm got this idea, it feels right. I've got enough evidence, let's go. Now I'm kind of going, hang on, I'm going to talk to someone else who I know will just challenge me in the right way.
Yep.
Do that before I take it up and go, look at this, what do you think? Does it resonate? What would you make stronger if it was you? Get that input.
And is that something that you've integrated into your professional philosophy as of that, what I would call a personal board?
Yeah.
Someone that's going to tell you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I've been doing it, in an informal way for a long time, and it's still informal to me, but I'm someone who's kind of, gets really energized by ideas, but it also means I can love them and then not like them later, right? Because they kind of come and they go. So I think that a sounding board of other people that I respect, who have great taste and have done great things, can be a really good way of helping me kind of work out where to put my effort and maybe what's a real winner versus what's not. Now, I've gone against their advice sometimes too, because I've just had a different sense. But, I increasingly trust myself, but I know I can still get shit wrong. I said a swear word.
Yeah, and I think we were talking to Stephen Bartlett a few weeks ago, and he was saying the one thing that he looks for in his leaders is humility, and I think that balance of bravery and humility is the perfect, fuel mix for great ideas.
It really is. I think if you're just turning up and shouting and pushing and shoving, it's hard for senior managers to take you seriously. It's sometimes the very quiet, very consistent approach that can cut through.
Yeah,
he's right. Good advice.
There's a whole, it's a whole other episode on diversity of thought, thinking in teams.
Yeah, good.
Last one from me, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
If you could go back 20 years ago,
and
reset your thinking on one or two things, what would that be, and why would that be the one or two things?
I don't know. I don't want to sound in any way arrogant or that I get things right, but I have, at every turn, I've learned something, and I've learned something from brilliant people who do all sorts of different jobs. I learned so much from a CFO, not just a creative. I learned from wonderful clients as well as agency side people, unexpected places. So I don't know, other than, would I have taken one job that didn't turn out well? Maybe not. But you know what? It led me on to Barcelona, and it led me on to now Lego brand group in Denmark. I like life unfolding. I think it's a thing, and I don't want to redo anything. Not so far.
What an amazing answer, and I think you're a very, very lucky practitioner for that to be the answer. But I think that in that there is the constant resetting, right? It's not that there's not one moment, but I think you've, at least from the outside looking in, you've really adopted that learning mindset.
Okay,
right?
Good. I'm pleased. I want to. There's times when you think you know it all, right? And I definitely don't.
I think that the world could use a lot more of that level of humility. Nick, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
It's really nice to talk to you too.